Hey, how's it going? Nick here, back for another episode. And today we got some good news. Well, not really good news, and it's not today either. Well, I'm behind by a few days, but whatever. I read this the day up, but then I've just been busy with this and that, and finally getting around to it. Here it is. Goldman Sachs will pay $5 billion for misleading investors on mortgage assets. Taking the NPR, Minnesota Public Radio, version of this story. Anyways, here we go. Goldman Sachs has become the largest bank to agree with a multi-billion-dollar settlement over the way it has packaged and sold mortgage-backed securities in the heady days of the housing boom. Which, at some point, after I read this, I am going to get into why mortgage-backed securities was a really stupid idea. But I have a story to read. Justice Department said Monday that Goldman Sachs had agreed to pay $5.06 billion over its conduct, the packaging and sale of residential mortgage-backed securities between 2005 and 2007. Investors lost billions during the period by purchasing securities based on mortgages that were often riskier than they were presented to be. Today's settlement is another example of the department's resolve to hold accountable those whose illegal conduct resulted in the financial crisis of 2008, said Benjamin C. Miser, head of the Justice Department's Civil Division. He added, viewed in conjunction with the previous multi-billion-dollar recoveries that the department has obtained for similar conduct, this settlement demonstrates the pervasiveness of the banking industry's fraudulent practices in selling RMBS that doesn't give a guide on what that's supposed to mean, and the power of the Financial Institutions Reform, Recovery, and Enforcement Act, a tool for combating the type of wrongdoing. I have no idea what RMBS stands for. This thing didn't bother to explain that. Probably something stupid that the banking industry did that collapsed the economy. Goldman had announced on January it would tentatively agree on the agreement. U.S. officials say it was part of the settlement that Goldman agreed to the statement of facts in its handing out of the securities. For example, though the firm originally stated that the loans underlying securities were made in accordance with underwritten guidelines, which wasn't always the case. Goldman received information indicating that for certain loan pools, significant percentages of loans reviewed did not conform to the representatives made to the investors about the pool of loans to be securitized. U.S. officials say that Goldman's Mortgage Capital Committee was supposed to approve every mortgage-backed security issued by the firm, but often failed to do so, even though other parts of the bank indicated that some of the loans might be problematic. In August 2006, one mortgage asset was found to have an unusually high percentage of the loans with credit defects, according to the statement of facts. How do we know we caught everything? The committee asked. And Goldman is latest of the big banks, a multi-billion-dollar settlement through the government. And that's the end of this story there. Mortgage-backed securities. Okay, so here's what happened. Banks gave out mortgages to people to buy houses. Okay. And they sold those mortgages to other banks who collected interest and such. Which, at first, you may think it's okay. Wrong. No, this was a terrible idea because a lot of the times the money being lent out to these mortgages, they didn't check the credit. They didn't check people. And they had all these weird adjustable rate mortgages and stuff. And so they're giving mortgages out to people who couldn't pay for these things. And so the securities were worthless. And while at the same time they were giving them A+ rating, which is the highest rating possible, and they were giving it to people who couldn't even pay the damn things. They were just completely worthless. And investors are spending tons and tons of money on these securities thinking they could make some money off of it with the interest. And a lot of times that just didn't happen. And so now they're getting fined by the government, which honestly, I don't think that's going far enough. Because like $5.6 billion to a huge bank like Goldman Sachs, that's nothing. That's pocket change. That's walking around money. Come on. It's nothing to them. Doesn't mean anything. Probably has over $1 trillion in assets. What they should be doing is prosecuting the people involved with these things instead of just fining the giant corporations. They need to put people in jail for this stuff. There's like so many people lost their life savings in this crash, and many others lost a whole lot of money. There needs to be accountability for this stuff. Put these people in jail. Of course, there's CEOs, which basically that means they're excluded from the corporation. They themselves are separate from the corporate entity. So basically they have no punishment. They can get away with whatever the hell they want because they're the big corporate CEOs. Well, that's not right. That's not right. Somebody needs to go to jail for this. So a lot of people are broke because of this nasty mess of the disaster that was the 2008 financial crisis. Anyways, I'm done with this rant. Thanks for listening. Be back real soon. See ya.